What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XRP today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. It is the 15th of April right now. We are sitting at about $2.10. Not a lot has happened. We're not going to talk about the USD pair at first. We're going to go over the Bitcoin pair and then talk about the Ethereum pair, and then we'll finish it up with the USD pair at the end there, okay? XRP versus Bitcoin, first and foremost, looking at this on a daily basis, it's very similar to the USD pair, right? Very, very similar consolidation phase. Likely, you had this fantastic move up. You've consolidated for months now. Likely, you're ready to break out and go higher, right? That's the expectation, is to break out of this zone and go higher. If we're looking at this on a weekly time frame, I feel like that becomes a little bit more obvious. This white line here acts as a line of resistance that we found resistance several times throughout XRP versus Bitcoin's life. Right, you can move this line up maybe a little bit down, whatever, tomato. But once we get above this area and we actually break above this area, we don't just fake out above it like this. When we actually get above this line, it'll be time to progress to the next area, right? We've clearly been held down by this level, but the last couple of times we've interacted with this line, we've had different reactions than what we've seen now. Again, this is the XRP to Bitcoin chart. XRP is worth $2.10. Bitcoin is worth $85,000. That ratio gives XRP to BTC a 0.00003045 price versus Bitcoin. Oh, I'm sorry, I had it. It's 4 zeros, not 5 zeros. My bad. But that number there, okay. Whenever you break out of this, and sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. What I was talking about was the reaction we're having here at this resistance point is different than what we've seen throughout this thing's history. Right here, when we found resistance, we moved down immediately. We came back up and then we moved down. And while we were consolidating around here, it was well below this line, not at the line. We came up here and then we went down. We came up, we went down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Right? Pretty simple. Here we've been consolidating for months. It hasn't just been up, down. It's been crowding this line. We've been doing different things, in my opinion, at least, is what it seems. The lows are getting higher as we're growing through time instead of getting lower, and we are persisting with interacting with this area instead of just tipping it once and then being done with it. So I think that this is the kind of behavior. Different behavior begets different results. This is the behavior that will likely take us to higher levels, again, versus Bitcoin, not versus the US dollar. That doesn't necessarily mean that XRP has to gain value in the US dollar, but likely if Bitcoin's moving down, XRP is not going to move down less than Bitcoin, right? It's going to move down more. So you likely wouldn't see growth versus Bitcoin unless it was in regards to the price going to the upside. I hope that makes sense. But if we're about to break out of this, what's the next move? What would the expectation be? Well, I think similar to the US dollar pair, we would see a very similar move to this here, but going forward. Now, being that this is the Bitcoin pair, I'll give it to you that you probably don't need to see as big of a move. You could see as big of a move. You don't know, but let's just put that out there. Let's see what that would look like, actually, from a line perspective, from a low to a high here. Come on now, low to high. Oh, we're going to get rid of the extended line. There we go. And not taking it to the actual high, just the high of the move, right? So we have a replica of that move there. This kind of move, I mean, if we were to see that come to maturity, that would take us all the way up to this area of resistance here, actually pretty damn close to that spot there. Resistance there, resistance there. That's about as well respected as the line that I have drawn here, so that's fine, yeah. I mean, maybe that's exactly where we go. And XRP versus Bitcoin, that would imply that we see a growth rate of about 300% versus Bitcoin, man. That's crazy. That's crazy, crazy stuff, you guys. That price there would be, and again, right, I'm assuming that XRP versus US dollar sees prices that are around $11 or higher, $11, $13, $15, $16 by the end of June. These are not end of cycle predictions. This is the end of the next move predictions. What's the end of the next move? Nobody knows. Nobody knows when it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be the end of June. I think that we've begun our next move. We've already found the low right now. We've begun our next move, more or less, and we just haven't gotten fully underway yet, and I think that by the end of June, we're going to see a lot more growth take place here. We'll be at prices that are well above $11. That's my expectation. So if we're taking this price versus Bitcoin into consideration as a next target area, which I'm fine with that. That sounds about right to me. Let's throw some fibs on here real quick just to make sure. High here to low there. Is that the right low? Yes, it is. Yeah, the 786, that's fine. I don't think we stop at the golden ratio. Personally, I think that we would. Yeah, we'd go. So maybe even a little bit higher than that. But let's round it up. Let's just do here. This is 4 zeros 99. Let's just say 3 zeros 1. Okay, 3 zeros 1. Let's go to Google Calculator. Google Calculator. 3 zeros 1. Okay, so 0.0001. That price versus whatever Bitcoin's price would be. Now, we don't know what Bitcoin's price will be, so we can only guess. My guess, looking at the BTC chart right now on a weekly basis, my guess would be that if XRP is going to grow versus Bitcoin, Bitcoin is going to grow as well. I don't think that by the time XRP is worth $11, or by the time it sees the end of its next move, that Bitcoin's going to be at these same prices. I think that it'll continue to grow much like it did here, much like it did here. If you're looking at this and saying that's too big, well, I do think it's going to be the biggest move that we've seen so far. But looking at this move is actually the exact same size as that last move. I didn't even mean to draw it, but it's basically the exact same size as that move. And it's actually pretty damn close to the exact same size as this move here as well. So taking it from that kind of perspective, Bitcoin might then go above 150K, right? We can at least, maybe you can agree with that, maybe you can't. I think it's going to go to 170K, so I think 150K is more than adequate. I don't know what word to use. More than satisfactory, but we can go a little bit lower. Let's say 130K. If XRP is moving up wherever, however high it is, if XRP is moving up, I'm going to guess that by the time it tops off, Bitcoin is probably at 170K, but we're going to say 130K and just dial it back a bit. Okay, so this is the price versus Bitcoin. 130K. If Bitcoin was worth 130K, this is the price of XRP to Bitcoin. What this equals sign will give us is the price of XRP. That is $13. $13 right there, you guys, right? And $13 is definitely, that's a target that we have in mind. $13 agrees with the BTC target here, right? I think that's fine. What I think would be cool to see is, does the Ethereum target agree with that as well? Because Ethereum versus XRP versus Ethereum has been on a straight tear. It's been moving up. It's been doing very well for itself, and I think that it's going to continue. Right? If we're looking at this on a weekly time frame, the RSI is actually bullish as hell, you guys. Went really overbought, up above the 90, came down, cooling down, finding support at the overbought zone, an area that you found resistance basically your whole life. You could go lower, of course you could, but I don't think that you're done here, and I do think that, you know, alongside with Bitcoin here, the XRP to BTC chart, the XRP to ETH chart will also grow, and we can input these calculations to what we would expect Ethereum to go to potentially by the end of its next move. And if that number comes up to be the same, what's miraculous about that is we're getting the same numbers with the Bitcoin chart, we're getting the same numbers with the Ethereum chart, and we're going to get the same numbers based off of the fibs with our USD chart, pointing all to that target area of probably $11 to $16. That's what I'm expecting, right? At a minimum, at the most pessimistic I could be, which 130K, oh, that's not what I meant to do. 130K is not the most pessimistic I could be, but I'm being pessimistic at that. I think that we will be at like 170K or more. But again, if it was 0.0001 times 130K, that's not the most pessimistic. I could, I could give you a 100K price. What, XRP is going to top off, it's going to find its next move, it's going to grow, and Bitcoin's only at 100K. So what, XRP's at $10? Boo-hoo. You know, but that's pessimism. Pessimism is at $10. Pessimism gets you two figures with XRP, right? Let's see if it works on the Ethereum chart, on the Ethereum scale. I do think you're going to continue to grow. I don't think that you're going to drop here. I think that Ethereum itself is about to grow as well. Let's look at this. ETH USD here. You've dropped way the hell off. Hell, even Ethereum to Bitcoin has dropped way the hell off, but you're in this kind of parabolic structure with ETH to Bitcoin, looking like you're going to get some kind of V-shaped recovery here at some point. It's going to be a rapid recovery, okay? ETH USD, I think, will also grow alongside of that rapid recovery. If we're taking a relative low to relative high, you're at the golden ratio. Yeah, I think you found your low, or you're around your low, and you're likely going to see some magnificent growth from here. Where's Ethereum going to go by the end of June? Nobody knows, but I'm going to guess. My guess is that by the end of June, Ethereum will be at new all-time highs. My guess is that by the end of this next move, by the end of June, Ethereum will be at prices that are, if not around $5,000, I think we could be as high as $7,500, right? I was saying that for Bitcoin, I don't think we'll be at 100K. I do think we'll be at 170K, but I leveled with you and I took 130K price and input that, right? Instead of giving the most bullish outcome, I gave it a more down-to-earth outcome, which I think is really just too conservative. I even think it's pessimistic at 130K, but let's say Ethereum, instead of going to 75, maybe you're not on board with this. Maybe you can see this as an end of cycle target. Maybe you don't see it as a possibility at all. Let's just agree that by the end of June, if you can't agree to 7,500, let's at least say 5K. I think by the end of June, Ethereum will see the biggest move that it's seen in years. I think it's going to move up phenomenally. I think that we could at least see 5K. If you don't want to get on board with that either we could say 4K. Let's start with 4K where we'll work our way up. 4K, 5K, ultimately with 7,500, right? Okay, so 4K 4K Ethereum times what would the ETH price be? Where are we going to go to? Because we probably do continue to grow from here. If we take a relative high, I bet we move up to the all-time highs, man, just looking at it here. But if we look at, come on now, there we go, high to low. Man, I better be recording. I made a video earlier, like yesterday. Okay, cool. There's one extra video I was going to make yesterday, and I didn't because it was a 20-minute video, and I ended up not recording. I got done, and I was like, damn it, that sucks. Anyways, high to low here. Yeah, I like what you're doing, man. Creeping through the golden ratio like this, it's very uncommon. Let me just say this, okay? It's very uncommon from a high to a low point, right? High here down to your low. That when you retrace, it's very uncommon to not stop at your golden ratio and find some kind of turbulence, okay? It doesn't normally happen. But when it does happen, it's very common to go to the 786, 886, or even the 886 to 100, depending on how you're doing it. And the way that you're doing it here is methodical. It's very short-lived. You're kind of consolidating to the upside, and in a very bullish way, I might add. I think that when this thing gets going, you're going to go to the 886 or higher. So I do think XRP to Ethereum is going to grow. I don't think you're going to grow as much as you did here because, again, what you've got in your way now is that Ethereum is also going to grow. So I don't think you're going to grow at as fast of a pace, but maybe, by the end of June, you grow at a pace that's something similar. I'm going to guess 0.003665 Ethereums per XRP to 0.0025 Ethereums to an XRP. I'm going to take the lower level of this. We're going to take the lowest level that we can come up with on the ETH USD pair, compare it to the lowest level that I feel like is appropriate. Because I don't think that you're just going to go to the 786. I think that the 886, just knowing what I know off of Fibs, I'm guessing you're not stopping it. I mean, you could stop at the 786. Let's be real. Let's actually look at this. Hold on. Maybe I should take the 786 because you could stop there. You found resistance right there. A little bit of support for a time. It's just not, I feel like that 886 is more. You got a weekly closing high right there, some support right here, resistance right there, and it's the 886. I feel like that's more significant. What about this? This might help me. Let's see. What about this high to low here? 227. Yeah, I can't see you stopping at the 786. You're probably going to stop at the 886 or higher. Okay, or higher. And that makes sense by the Fibs. To me, the way this looks, I'd be surprised if you stopped at the 786 anyways. Oftentimes, when you stop at the 786, you rip right through. When you see this more constructive stuff, oftentimes you actually hit the 886 or higher. So we're going to take the minimum target that I think for Ethereum, 0.0025. So 4,000 Ethereum dollars to 0.0025 Ethereums to XRP dollars. Let's try it out. 0.0025, right? I want to make sure I got the right number. That looks like the right number. Just see. Yeah, 0.0025. That number is $10. Pessimistic, right? You remember when I did the pessimistic outcome for Bitcoin? Yeah, $10. Both times. Bitcoin's pessimistic price, wow, $10. XRP's pessimistic price versus Ethereum, $10. Let's amp it up a little bit, ramp it up a little bit, okay? 0.0025. Come on now. 0.0025 times 5,000. Let's say it's at 5,000. Ethereum's at 5,000. That's $12. 0.0025 times 7,500, which I doubt that XRP and Ethereum top off at the same time, but maybe they top off similarly. Let's just say $7,000 instead of 7,500, but $7,000. What did I do wrong? Divided by, that's why. 7,000. $17. I'm not saying 1750 can't happen, but that's at like the height of my expectations, right? We took the minimum, and that's the minimum would be 10, the height 17. I don't know if we see 1750, or maybe what's not adding up is that while Ethereum might see 7,000 or higher, XRP might top off before or after Ethereum. So maybe these prices won't line up together, right? The XRP to ETH chart might not dial in exactly to 7K for Ethereum to USD. Does that make sense? Anyways, I hope it's very clear that with XRP being the third biggest crypto, taking out USDT, I think, is it still the third biggest crypto even with USDT? No, USDT's in there. But XRP would be the third. It is the third biggest crypto. Being the third biggest crypto, the top two coins ahead of it, when we compare the price of XRP to those coins, it comes up with the exact same area that we've been looking at for months now, you guys, whenever it comes to where we're going to go to next for XRP versus US dollar, right? And here's where we wrap it up. From a high to a low, The minimum target's 837. That's the minimum target, not because of anything that we've done in this video, right? Even at the pessimistic looks, and at that, basically, if we see XRP go to where I think it's going to go to Bitcoin, which is the minimum target, and Bitcoin only goes to 100K, we still wouldn't even stop here. We'd be at higher prices. With Ethereum would have to be worth less than $4,000 by the end of its next move for it to be less than, for XRP to be worth less than $10. Because I feel like I was also pretty accurate with the assumption as to where we're going to go versus Ethereum as well. I don't think we stop here at the 786. I would think the 886 or more is where we're going to go. And again, it's not directly proportionate. XRP likely won't top off at the exact same time that Bitcoin or Ethereum tops off. So the way that we're doing the math there isn't going to be pinpoint accurate, but it's in the area of accurate, in the area of what we're looking for when it comes to the fibs. Because if you don't stop here, where's the next target area? This is the next target area. Little known fact about the 1414, it's very common to move just above it whenever interacting with it, moving just above it instead of stopping right at it. About 40% of the time, it's common enough that you stop right at it. It's something we should consider. 1357 is a adequate target. I don't think anybody holding XRP would be upset with that. But here, from $2.10 to prices that are well above $10, potentially as high as $7. I don't know about that, but man, you never know. I think the XRP army, you felt vindicated here. It's going to be different, man, up here. It's going to be a whole, people, like, yeah, you're going to do really well. I think you're going to do really well. None of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. You know, don't hate me if anything that I say doesn't come to fruition. These are my genuine targets, my genuine estimations. I'm not just BSing you here, right? We did the work together, and across multiple charts, we came up with the exact same answer that we could have just said with the fibs. If I wanted to just BS you or be lazy, I could have just said the fibs. And this tells us the same target area that we've concocted with our calculations, but which are very basic calculations, but still. It all agrees in the same area. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's destiny. XRP is going to have a phenomenal time. But first, being here at about $2.10, don't be surprised. Don't be scared if we see prices that drop a little bit lower. You're at $2.10 right now. Maybe drop down to about $1.95. Maybe drop all the way back down to $1.90. I doubt we go below this low. I very much doubt it. But technically, you haven't validated this as a low until you're above these highs here at $2.55. You need to close above $2.55. If you can do that, you validate this as a low. Until then, it's possible that you go lower. I don't think we go lower. I'm just saying I think it's a possibility. And if you don't accept it as a possibility, what happens if the price goes here and then bounces? Are you going to hold down here? Or are you going to panic sell because you didn't accept it as a possibility? At least consider it, right? I don't think we're going to go below this low. I don't believe that we'll even go near it. But I accept the possibility that I could be wrong, right? What I do think is going to happen is you'll find support just below $2, continue to recover, continue to climb, and going into the end of April, going into May and June, you're going to be on your merry way to this next step of this overall move that you've been in the process of fulfilling since November there. So I've got nothing else for you guys. All-time highs await. They're around the corner, and they're a lot closer than you might think. Prepare yourselves. Don't scare yourselves. And if anything, if there's anything that you should or shouldn't do with this next move to the downside, I think we're going to see a little downside over the next couple of days, and we can actually observe that here on the 4-hour RSI. The only thing I think that you should do is buy more. The only thing I think that you shouldn't do is sell. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do whatever you want. I don't care. It's up to you. But that's just my opinion. That's what I would do with XRP. Anyways, ta-ta for now. Hit the like button. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.